So dear ones, let us take a moment to quiet down our mind. And like Dr. Nguyen just shared earlier, can you hear me from the back? Okay, good. Okay. We learn to come back to ourselves as we take care of others. It's like building a house, a building. If you have a strong, solid foundation, you can build many stories. But if the foundation is shaky, then whatever you do is going to topple over. So we can always come back to ourselves, and that's the foundation that we have. So when you sit on the chair, you can sit towards the front half or front third. Feel your feet on the ground, both feet on the ground. Visualize us as a tree with roots firmly grounded in Mother Earth. With our back upright, shoulders open, arms relaxed. The hands can rest on our lap, or our hands can hold one another. The thumb, left thumb can touch the right thumb to make the full circuit, the complete circuit. Okay? Gently come back to the awareness of our in-breath as it is. Come back to the awareness of the out-breath as it is. Visualize a bird watcher watching a bird flying in the sky. If the bird is flying south, you know that it's flying south. If it's going north, you know it's going north. If it's going fast or slow, you just simply observe and recognize it as it is. So we can also be breath watcher. If the breath is an in-breath, simply recognize it as an in-breath. In-breath, in-breath. If the breath is an out-breath, you smile and recognize it as the out-breath. Out-breath, out-breath. Or out, out. In, out. We'll breathe with the sound of the bell as I guide you through this meditation, which you can also do for yourself anytime, anywhere, as you sit in your office or in the car or in a waiting room, anywhere and anytime. You can always come back to your in-breath and your out-breath and enjoy each in-breath and out-breath. Breathing in, I befriend my in-breath. Breathing out, I befriend my out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. Breathing in, I get to know the quality of my in-breath, whether it is slow or fast, comfortable or uncomfortable, at ease or pressured. I'm aware as it is. Breathing out, I get to know the quality of my out-breath as it is in this moment. In-breath, out-breath. Breathing in, I breathe and smile. Release all the tension in my body. Breathing out, I breathe and smile, releasing all the tension in my body. Breathe and smile. Breathing in, I'm aware that I still have a body. Breathing out, I smile and thank my body. Hello, my dear body. I know you are there, and I'm very happy. Gently scan through your body from head to toes. Aware of my forehead, I breathe and smile. Relax all the frowns, the tension in my forehead. Aware of my eyes, I smile. Thank you, eyes. Aware of my nose. Aware of my teeth. Thank you for this state of non-toothache. I enjoy having a non-toothache. Hello, lungs. Hello, heart. Breathe and relax the body so that the lungs and the heart can work less. Breathing in, I'm aware of the feelings that may be there, that may arise. Unpleasant or pleasant or neutral, I'm aware of it as it is. Breathing out, I smile and relax that feeling, that sensation that I'm experiencing in my body. Aware of feelings, smiling, relaxing it. I'm here to listen, to get to know myself, my body, feelings, thoughts. I can be with what is. Don't have to run. Don't have to hide. I can simply be with what is. Dear friends, you can gently open your eyes. Continue to keep a smile on your lips. Continue to check in with your in-breath and out-breath throughout the time that we share together. I'm really grateful to be here today. I studied medicine at UC San Francisco. I graduated, and I was doing residency at Martinez, north of San Francisco, when I met our teacher, Zen Master Thích Nhất Hạnh. And through some tragedy, trauma in my life, I actually left medicine, and I wanted to find a spiritual path to take care of myself and to go forward with my life. And so Dr. Nguyễn told me that he's the class of 1990. Yeah, I was the class of 1993. Yes, and so it means a lot to me to come back to the medical community and to offer you something that I've learned the last 19-20 years. So I will be quite concrete with my sharing. I will also bring some teachings of the Buddha that will explain why we practice certain things. I have somebody about 10 years or so ago gave me this bean. And you can see this is the model of it. Somebody else made this model for me. So this bean, an actual bean, is called a yin-yang bean. And you can get it online. Half of it is black and half of it is white. And you see that in the black, there's the white dot. And on the white half, there's also a black dot. So in the black, there is the white, and in the white, there's the black. We can call it a yin-yang bean, or I call it the inter-bean. And this is it's a good model for the teaching of the Buddha, a very deep teaching on inter-being. Have you ever heard the word before? Inter-being? You know Shakespeare, he said, to be or not to be, that's the question. But when we are spiritual practitioners, we learn to say, to be or not to be, that is not the question. The question is that actually we inter-are. We cannot ever be completely separate. We are not separate, fixed, immutable individuals. In the healer, there's the healed. In the healthcare professional, there's the patient. And in the patient, there is the teacher, the healer. And in the healer, there's also the healing process. So the three elements of a healthcare practitioner, a patient, and the treatment, the healing process. Often in our society, we think of them as three separate entities, but actually they are not three. They inter-are. They're in each other. In this, there is that. In that, there is this. This is because that is. The doctor is because the patient is. If there's no patient, there'll be no doctor, right? No physical therapist. So the relationship co-arises. And this is very important. When I studied medicine, I didn't see this. There were times when I would drive to the hospital. I would sit in the car in the parking lot and crying. I didn't want to go see my patients because the sadness, the pain in me was so deep and so overwhelming that by the time I got into the hospital, I would rather check on lab results than to see my patients. Seeing patients could be just too exhausting. It's like a cup full of water. If you pour more water, it will just spill outside. So many times when we are health professionals, we do not know how to take care of ourselves. we are also patients. We also need to be healed. So to be able to learn to take good care of ourselves, that is actually to be taking good care of our patients. We are not two. Just 2 days ago, I spent some time with my niece. She's 7 years old, and we were sitting on 2 hammocks in the monastery. Our monastery is in Escondido, near San Diego. And I said, let's ask questions so that we get to know each other. And so I was asking her about you like this fruit or you like that fruit? And then when it was her turn, this was her question. Auntie, do you like being what you are in this moment? It's not, do you like plum, do you like peaches? Do you like what you are in this moment? Oh, it's really deep, you know? And so I said, wow, that's very profound. What do you mean by that? And she said, well, you know, like a nun, a doctor, a teacher. That's what she asked me. And I just took a deep breath and I said to her, thank you for asking me that question. Actually, I'm very happy to be a nun. I learned to take care of myself as I take care of others. And I have a lot of time to play with you. And so she was happy with that. But as I reflected on it more, I saw that to be a nun, a doctor, and a teacher, there are not 3 separate elements for me anymore. Before it was separate. My private life was different from my public life. Yeah? But now for me, wherever I am, I just am. I don't have to be divided. The schism that we always carry in us because we don't have the insight of interbeing. We see I'm different from others. My body is different from my mind. But the body is not different from the mind. In medicine, we have the word psychosoma. Right? This is mind and this is body. That's deep wisdom in this word, right? Even now in science, they talk about space-time, they write it as one word, psychosoma. So in Buddhist psychology, we also have the word nama-rupa. That's actually exactly that, nama-rupa. Nama is mind. And rupa is body. When we are aware of this, we can be better healers. For example, when a patient comes to us and we take a history, right? History of present illness, we ask about their symptoms in the present moment that they have, their complaints. But we also ask about the past medical history. We also ask about the psychiatric history, right? The social history. All of this, we get to know a person as a whole and not just a broken arm or, an injured foot. But we get to know the person. When a patient comes to us, whether that person is a janitor or a doctor or a president, that person becomes very vulnerable, very uncertain. When we have experienced a traumatic event, whether it's physical or psychological, we become very vulnerable, sensitive. And so as healthcare professionals at this interface, we see the patients in a very interesting, unique situation. And we play the role of healthcare providers, but we also play the role of a parent, of a teacher, a friend, a spiritual leader. Do we have those elements in ourselves? Do we cultivate those elements in our daily life? Because that's what the patients need. Just like at some point, we are also patients, right? All of you have gone to doctors. Hopefully you all have your primary care doctors. Hopefully, yes. So when you are in the position of a patient, you would like your doctors, your therapists, to have those qualities to help you to hold the uncertainty, the fear, the trauma, the sadness that you have. And so we see that when a person comes to us, that person is very complex, and we are very complex, and the interaction will come out in such a way, it is a result of who we are and who that person is, where that person is and where we are. This is because that is, and this is not because that is not. When we are not present, like when I did an intake in a patient in the emergency room, I asked a question, but I was thinking of the other 3 patients in the other rooms. And so I would ask the question again and again. And sometimes I would ask the question 3 times or 5 times. And the patient in that moment felt frustrated. On top of all the feelings that the person already has, the person feels like that person, she or he cannot trust this doctor, this supposedly healthcare provider, because this person is not really present, is not able to listen deeply or to speak lovingly. And so trauma can be complicated, can be accumulative. See, one trauma on top of the other. And the Buddha talked about the second arrow. Like when you shoot an arrow into your arm, that wound is very painful. But if you shoot the second arrow into the same wound, the pain doesn't just double. It can become exponential, right? And so when we have a physical injury or an emotional injury, that's the first wound. But then comes to it is our own denial, our fear, our rejection. And then if the healthcare providers or the family members are not very supportive or understanding, that can be the second and the third arrow. So we learn to be aware of the first arrow and take care of it, to remove that arrow, to tend that wound, and learn to prevent from shooting the second arrow and the third arrow into ourselves and also into others, including our own patients. So this model, this teaching on interbeing is very helpful. It helps us to always come back to that foundation, and that is ourselves, our own peace and our own stability, not our intelligence, not our cleverness, not our skills. Those things are very important, yes, but the more important aspect that we often don't talk about in schools or at workplace is actually the peace, the stability that we may have in us. So with that, let us come back to the breath. Let us come back to that grounding place. You can feel the breath at the tip of your nose, or you can feel your breath through your lips, or maybe at the level of your chest as it's rising and falling, or maybe you feel your breath at the level of your abdomen, rising and falling, rising and falling. Let us breathe together. Okay? And as you breathe, remember to smile and to relax your whole body. Just loosen it up, release it, let it go into the ground. In our monasteries, in all of our practice centers, every time we hear the sound of the bell or the telephone, we stop and breathe. In breath, out breath, that's one. In breath, out breath, that's two. In breath, out breath, that's three. So we stop moving about, we stop speaking, we let go of our thoughts and feelings, and we just simply breathe. And this is very healing, because nowadays the sound of the telephone can trigger a fight or flight response, a stress response that easily. You know, unknowingly our whole body tenses up. We hold our breath, the heart quickens. And so this is an antidote to it. Whenever, you know, I used to use a pager, now we all have our iPhone, you know. But when we hear the sound of the telephone, our own phone ring or somebody else's phone, we just simply breathe and smile, even just one in breath and one out breath. If you do that all day long, wow, you see, that's meditation. We have an idea about meditation as, you know, sitting on the cushion, your back is very stiff and upright, and you look very serious. Our modern day, we cannot afford that, and it's actually not the true spirit of meditation. Meditation is like a bird with two wings. One wing is stopping, and the other wing is deep looking. Stopping and deep looking go together in tandem. Stopping means stopping the mind from running back to the past, running forward to the future, or getting lost in the projects and plans in what we are doing. That's stopping. We still walk, but we are aware that we are walking. Have you ever experienced that you walk the whole distance and then you're like, wow, where was I? How did I get here? Yeah? You have not been aware of any steps or any breath as you walk this across the campus, for example. So stopping doesn't mean that you stop doing things. You do things, but your mind is with your body. There's not that schism, that separation that too many of us experience, and that's why it results in the neglect of our body and not taking good care of our mind. So bring them back together, stopping, come back. Sometimes when I walk, I say, come back, come back, come back. You take a left step, a left foot, you say left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. We have the Chinese character for walking, han. And it literally means left foot, right foot. Walking, left foot, right foot. How many of you were aware of your steps today? Let's say 10 steps. How many of you were aware of 10 steps this whole day up to this point? Not very many, right? It's very unfortunate. We are intellectuals. We are what we call the cream of the crop. Yes, we are very privileged. And yet we know so many things, and yet we are so unaware of ourselves. Think about it. If we are not aware of our physical, our body, how can we be aware of our mind, which is much more abstract and elusive? And yet, our mind, how can we get to know the mind? The mind is the body. The mind is expressed in the body. For example, when you're angry, how is your breathing pattern? How do you breathe? Right? Yeah? When you're sad, how do you breathe? Right? How do you walk? You walk like you've lost some money. Right? Or when you're worried, what do? You pace, right? You pace back and forth. So actually your body speaks your mind. Your body is a manifestation of your mind. So actually getting to know our body is getting to know our mind. Taking good care of our body is taking good care of our mind. And when there's that awareness, that peace, that stability in ourselves, from that vantage point, we can see the patients with more clarity, with more equanimity. When a patient comes in, as you take the history, you will notice things that are unsaid. The way the person dresses, you know, something doesn't match. The way the person speaks, something doesn't seem right. The demeanor, the emotions that you feel from the patients. So then we learn to care for the person as a whole. I'm aware that we don't have a lot of time to spend with a person, but do you know what? There are patients, for example, the elderly patients, they look forward to going to their doctor's appointment. Why? Because they're lonely at home. Even with the 10 minutes that the doctor gives them, it's somebody to listen to them, somebody that they can talk to, because at home they're all alone. The session that you have with your patients can be life-changing for them, or can be very nurturing, comforting for them. So it's not so much what we do, really. A lot of time it's just our own energy. When we see a person, you know, okay, instead of being very quick, short, like, how are you doing today? You know, you look good. Yeah, I'm glad you can come today, right? Like earlier when we started, and some staff members were thanking each other. That's very important. We call that loving speech. Loving speech. I'm going to test you all the practices I'm sharing with you, right? We talk about breathing meditation, right? Awareness of our breath. Walking meditation, aware that it's the left foot, the right foot, right? Breathing in. We'll practice a little bit in a little while. Okay? I'm aware that I'm taking my left foot, right, left foot, right foot, breathing out, out, out. Okay? You can do that anytime, anywhere, from your room, from your office room to the restroom or to the next room, or before you enter the room, like Dr. Nguyen was sharing. You know, he take a moment. You can knock on the door 3 times. 3 times to just calm yourself down. Breathe before you enter the room, before you make the transition. You let go of what's outside, let it go. So that when you come in the door, you are fully present for that very person and not for the last person, right? So we're there. We talk about breathing meditation, walking meditation. We also use that loving speech. When I studied Chinese characters, I'm Vietnamese, but Chinese and Vietnamese, we have, you know, the language. Our Vietnamese language is very much influenced by the Chinese language. And I learned the word soulmate. And I was so happy to discover this word. When we think of a soulmate, what do you think of?
Person.
A person, okay. What are qualities that you're looking in that person, looking for in that person, in the soulmate?
One who completes you.
One who completes you. Okay, one who is loving. Anything else you wish for? Just give it out. Shout it out. Huh? Anything?
Listens.
Who listens. Okay. Yes, we all want that person, right? Okay. So this is the Chinese character for soulmate, or in Vietnamese, tri kỷ. You know what tri means? Tri means to remember, to know, to master. And kỷ means oneself. A soulmate is one who remembers, who knows, who masters herself, himself. And so when we learn to be aware of our breath, for example, That is learning to be our own soulmate, the soulmate of our breathing, because our breathing reflects our states of mind. Yeah? When you're angry, you breathe differently. When you're at ease, you breathe differently. When you have physical pain or mental pain, your breathing pattern is different. When you're sick, you breathe differently. When you're dying, your breathing pattern is very different. So learning to be a soulmate of our breath, of our breathing, learning to be a soulmate of our steps, learning to be a soulmate to ourselves by using loving speech. It's okay. It's okay. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Help me to take good care of you. We learn to say that to ourselves. As a nun, I've learned to say to myself, I love you. I love you. I'm here for you. When I feel nervous, when I feel sad, when I have anything that is, of a strong emotion in me, something discomforting, I have physical pain, I just sit still wherever I am or lie down wherever I am, and I just breathe and say, I love you. Thank you for carrying the burden of my pain. Where do you usually carry the pain in your body when you're angry? Some of us, we carry it in our chest, right? And it feels like we cannot breathe. We have shortness of breath. Some of us, we carry it up here and we keep thinking and we cannot fall asleep. Or we may carry it here and we have abdominal pain, right? Or in our limbs we feel weak. This is learning to be our own soulmate. And we can also teach our patients. When they come to us, it's not an opportunity for them to heal their body alone. It's also an opportunity for them to heal their mind, to heal their life as well. Many people have adapted very negative coping mechanisms, like people with chronic pain. We become dependent on drugs, right? Relaxants, sleep medication. We learn to be dependent on drugs or alcohol or sex or entertainment. We look for things to forget what's going on in our body, in our mind, in our life. And this is not just for the patients, this is all of us, because we share the same human faith and the same mind, right? So in that way, we also help share with our patients a more positive, adaptive coping mechanism. And this is definitely, for me, one very positive way to learn to be there for what is and not have to try to numb the pain, whether it's physical or psychological, or to forget it, to suppress it. But we learn to breathe through the pain. For example, if you help a patient to walk after a stroke or something, and the person is going through the physical therapy, we can teach them to visualize themselves being able to walk, to just sit for a little while and breathe and relax the mind, so the mind can be calm and spacious, and you can walk it through. Now visualize that you are lifting up, right? Your left foot. See how you're lifting up your left foot, how you put down your foot, right? Like walk through as detailed as possible. Like now visualize yourself taking your right foot and plant it on the ground. So visualization can help a lot. Also, good, okay, now let's try it again. For example, and we use the loving speech. Yeah, you can do it. Wow, look at that. However minimal the accomplishment is, we can always recognize it. Because guess what? When we use positive, loving speech, we are the first one to benefit from it. We feel good first. And then the patients will also feel acknowledged, encouraged, supported. So loving speech, positive speech is very important. You can do it. It's okay. Yeah, it's a small step, but it's very important. So we learn that to practice that with ourselves as a soulmate. When I do sitting meditation, I see that I'm learning to be my own soulmate, to be there for me. I listen to my breathing, then I listen to my body. If there's any tension anywhere, I learn to relax it, to breathe through it. I'm here, I'm here. I learn to be a soulmate to my feelings, to my thoughts, and breathe and soften it, make it become more expansive, yeah? And listen to it. The practice of deep listening is very important, and it goes in tandem with loving speech. It's deep listening. Deep listening is to listen without judging. Listening for the things that are said and the things that are unsaid. And we can practice that with ourselves first, listening to our own breathing, to our own steps. When we walk, when we're angry, our footsteps sound different, right? We stomp on the ground, right? They sound very harsh, louder, quicker. But when we are peaceful, naturally you just you like to take a stroll, slow, leisure, right? Comforting. So that's deep listening to our own body. Everything about our body tells us where we are. Unfortunately, we don't listen. And then sometimes somebody said, "You're angry." "No, I'm not angry." Have you ever? Yeah. "You're drunk." "I'm not drunk." "What do you mean?" Yes, learning to be a soulmate. That soulmate is one who remembers, who knows, who masters oneself. That's a soulmate. And we learn throughout the day to practice deep listening to ourselves, to speak lovingly to ourselves, and then naturally we'll be able to do that for our patients. And their healing is not just the body, but it's actually the psychological, the spiritual aspect. That's very important. I remember when I was doing a rotation in a hospital, and we were treating this young man. He had, an abscess on his arm, and because he injected drugs, and it got infected. And we had to carve a big chunk of his muscles, carve into his bone. Took care of that wound for at least 2.5 months. He was released. 3 months later, he came back with another abscess, And I was very frustrated. I think I experienced that a lot. And I wanted to leave medicine many times, but I didn't dare to because I spent too many years studying, what would I do if it wasn't practicing medicine? But in the end, I realized, how can I blame this person or these patients for not taking good care of themselves? How can I blame them for wasting my life and youth and energy when I'm somebody who's much more, privileged, and yet I didn't even know how to take care of myself. When I was happy, I laughed. When I was sad, I cried, and I was up and down like a yo-yo, going up and down in that way. So when I met the spiritual practice, when I learned about stopping and deep looking, I realized I need to be my own healer. I need to be healed myself, you see? So let us enjoy another sound of the bell. It is 3 o'clock. Okay. Good. I hear the chairs are moving. Yes, feel your feet on the ground. Sit upright but relaxed, and just enjoy the breath. Relax the whole body. healthcare professionals suffer a lot from secondary trauma, suffer from burnout. I think mainly because because of the dramas and trauma in our own lives, and then on top of that, we accumulate so much stress and tension, and from our patients, we just absorb all of that. And patients, some can be grateful, can be quite nice to us, but usually, or more often than not, patients, they come in and they're so traumatized, they're so scared that they can also be quite negative, abusive in speech and bodily actions, and that can also hurt us. And so I trust that all of us, when we go into the medical field, we have very good hearts. We want to help others. But many of us can also become quite bitter and burned out. And so then the work becomes not so meaningful, not so nourishing for us anymore. So to take care of this problem of secondary trauma, of burnout, we need to come back and take better care of ourselves. When you go home, let go of all your work. Don't bring your work home. It shouldn't be your second partner, that you bring with you everywhere. When you drive home, just breathe and enjoy the drive. If it's beautiful scenery, enjoy the beautiful scenery. Or just enjoy breathing and just relaxing your body. The red light, the red stop, don't feel don't tense up and feel like you need to, to speed up afterwards. Just enjoy the red light. Enjoy a moment of stopping. And then, so in that way, you can practice driving meditation. Because meditation just means stopping and deep looking, right? So if your mind is with your body, and if your mind sees what is as it is, then that's deep meditation. And that's meditation, that's mobile. Yeah, it's anywhere and any place that you go to, anytime. And you've also heard the word mindfulness. Well, mindfulness, the Chinese character for mindfulness is this. There's a lot of wisdom in language, Oh, that's not very clear. So the uppercase, not better, it's okay. Uppercase is Nghiêm, means now, and the lowercase is Tâm, means heart or mind. So mindfulness is the now mind, the now heart. That's mindfulness. Mindfulness means you remember, you know what is in you, what is around you, and thus you know what to do and what not to do. That's mindfulness. So mindfulness is meditation. Sometimes we say mindful meditation, but I think to me, that's redundant. Mindfulness is meditation because your mind stops running to the past, running to the future. Your mind is here and in the now. And it's aware, it sees what is really, not through the lens of the past, not through the lens of the future, but it can see with clarity what is for its own value in this moment. You see, mindfulness means now mind, the mind that is in the here and in the now. So in that way, when you bring these practices with you throughout the day, then you don't have to feel like, oh, I have to set out an hour, which I don't have, in order to do sitting meditation. But throughout the day, you keep coming back to anchor into your own body and mind. Okay? So with that, may I take, can we take 5 minutes to practice walking meditation together? And I walk you through, okay? So for example now, let's listen to one sound of the bell. Again, come back to the breath. Come back to the body, just quickly use that light of mindfulness to shine through your body and relax each part of your body. Wherever there's tension or pain, you just breathe into that, smile with it, and release it. Breathe and smile. Now stand up slowly, standing up. I'm aware that I'm standing up. Feel how you put a pressure in your feet, how your body lifts up, okay? And then now we take wherever we are, we can walk to the left or to the right or forward or backward. Just take one step with full awareness. Aware how you lift your left foot or your right foot. Just aware of that. How it's moving, feel your knees, your ankles, your hip, how that whole movement, your arms. Just take a few steps, just as long as we don't run into each other, it's okay. Okay? Just quietly identify left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Now see if we can combine. As I'm breathing in, I'm taking, left foot, right foot, left foot. And as I'm breathing out, I'm also taking some steps with awareness. Okay? Good. Enjoy. It may feel awkward because we don't usually walk this slow, but we just it is really nice, like after lunch or while you have a moment without a patient waiting for you, just practice slow walking meditation. Just in your office or in the hallway, or if you're outdoor, that's great. Just walk slowly, relax, loosen your shoulders, loosen your arms, let go of that fist, just relax the whole body. Okay? Now let's walk a little faster, like we breathe in and maybe we take 2 steps. We breathe out, we take 2 steps or 3 steps, and still anchor that awareness of our breathing, of our steps, our breath, our steps. Okay. Now we walk a little faster, but still keep the awareness of our body, of our breath. As we maneuver through the chairs, as we avoid running into each other, we keep that peace within. Smile, don't look too serious. Okay? And as we're walking, anytime you hear the sound of the bell, let's say that's the telephone, you just breathe and smile and take a moment to stop, okay? Okay, feel your heart beating fast. Just breathe and smile. Relax your body so that your heartbeat can slow down. Relax the whole body. Okay, now let's walk a little more. Now let's say, a little late for the meeting already. Let's walk a little faster. Do your best to stay in your steps, okay, to stay in your breath. Okay. You don't have to think anything while you're walking. It's useless. Okay. Just enjoy the walking. Enjoy getting some movement. Smile. If you smile often, you stay young longer. Smile to each other. We're colleagues. Don't have to be strangers. Yes, you can even hug each other. How nice. Yes, walk a little faster. I know you don't usually walk this slow. Come on, walk faster and stay aware. Okay. Okay, can you run a little bit? See if you can run. You can run and actually still stay. Okay? Best not to talk, because when you talk, then you leave your body. Okay? So just kind of jog slowly, jog around. Check in with your heart rate, your respiratory rate. Release all the muscle tension. Now slowly walk back to your seat. Okay, aware of your left foot and right foot, of your steps. Okay, as you sit down, aware that you're sitting down. Sitting down, I'm aware that I'm sitting down. Standing up, I'm aware that I'm standing up. Okay? We learn to be aware. When you have a moment, just come back to yourself. In our modern time, we say we're very busy. We don't have time for ourselves. But any moment you get, you chit-chat. Or you get out your iPhone and start to, you know what you do. We waste a lot of time. And we are always running away from ourselves. We're always neglecting and deserting ourselves. So learn to, for me, I just learned to not have the electronic gadgets. That's like the easiest way. But since you have to have them and work with them, really, when you don't really have to work, don't work. Just put away your iPhone, put away your laptop, you know, just be there with yourself. Be a soulmate to yourself. And thus be a soulmate to the person in front of you. And that may be your client, maybe your child, maybe your partner, somebody that you may not ever see again, tomorrow or someday. So the quality of our presence, not the quantity, but the quality of our presence can be very healing, can be very long-lasting. I see too many people get so lost in their electronic gadgets. It's yet a very effective and addictive means to desert ourselves. I work with a lot of young people at the monastery, and as we go out to teach, I see too many young people now. They are very addicted to electronics. It's so concerning. It's very alarming. They become literally like zombies. An 8-year-old girl said, I have back pain from sitting, you know, from playing on her iPhone or her iPad too long. Children, teenagers, when they don't go to school, they may be on their, you know, electronic gadgets for 8 hours, 9 hours. Children stay up very late at night when their parents are not aware of it, or their parents have no control of it anymore, you know, and they develop insomnia. When they go to high school, to college, they're not doing well because they have negative habits. Repetitive action, behavior becomes a habit. And a habit, rehearsed, it becomes our personality. And our personality determines our destiny. So in Buddhism, we learn to care a lot. You may have heard the word karma. Oh, it's my karma, it's your karma. Karma just means actions of the mind, the mouth, and the body. Actions of the mind, those are thoughts and feelings and judgments, perceptions. Actions of the mouth, that's our speech, the words. Actions of the body, those are our behaviors. Whatever we think, it'll come out of our mouth as our speech. It'll come out of our body as our behaviors. So to learn to care for our mind. But to care for our mind, in order to do that, we learn to care for our body. To see, in order to become more aware and sensitive to what's going on to our body, then we have a chance to be more aware of the thoughts that are running through our mind. That 2 hours, 3 hours that you are on your computer, usually are the 2 or 3 hours that you are oblivious of yourself. You're not aware. But you walk out of your office, you come home, suddenly your child said something, your partner said something, and you get really upset. And you wonder why you're upset. It's because the last many hours you're not aware of yourselves. But the mind continues to work in its undercurrent. Thoughts and feelings, perceptions continue to be produced. And then they will result in our speech and bodily actions, you see? So we learn to come back, bring the mind back to the body, so the mind doesn't just run amok out there, unattended. Come back to the body and relax the body so that the mind can also relax. Mind, body, body, mind, psychosoma. We learn to take good care, because most of us, we run. When we go into a spiritual life, we say, "Oh, I want to heal my past." You know, I have this wounded child in me, a 5-year-old or a teenager who was abused in some ways, or who had a difficult life, and we always try to catch up with the past. But really, true to the spirit of interbeing, in this there is that. In the present moment, there's the past, there's the future. We don't have to run back to the past. We can't. But in this very present moment, as you look at yourselves, as you look at your patients, you know the past. You know what the person has gone through. Just to be able to look at a person's face and how she or he is holding his or her body. A few days ago, we had a young woman who came to our monastery. She just simply said hello to the community, and I knew she was severely depressed. Just the way she just hunched, and her face looked so much in distraught and so absent. So absent. So we learn to take care of the present moment, because the present moment is a manifestation of our past. We are who we are today because of our past. But in this moment, we actually can affect change. We can choose to think negatively, or we can choose to practice deep listening and loving speech. In this very moment, only in the here and the now do we have control over. Can we get to remember, to know, and to master, to be a soulmate in this present moment. And if we take good care of this present moment, guess what? This moment that we are together now, at 5 o'clock, is going to become a beautiful past, right? When we look back, wow, that hour we spent together, that's a beautiful past. So we don't have to yearn for the past. And we can also share with our patients, you might have lost an arm, you might have lost a function. Yes, and let rejoice what you still have in this moment, right? To take good care of what you still have, so that you can go forward. And in this present moment also contains the future. We all are very nervous, or we all anticipate the future, what it will be like. But however this moment will be, it will be the foundation for the future. So if we take it, we learn to be a soulmate to this moment, to our body, to our mind. For sure, you'll be able to take care of yourself the next moment, next year. As a nun, as nuns, we only receive $50 every month. That's our monthly allowance. That's not much, you know that, right? $50. And yet, I don't worry about the future. But I used to worry about the future when I made more money, when I had a lot more things. So really, it's a state of our mind. It's not what we have, you know, the material things, the position, the status that make us feel stable and secure. It's not, you know, it's not. But when we learn to be able to be there for what is, to breathe through the physical pain, to breathe through the emotional pain, to smile with it, to hold it with grace, you feel that confidence, that trust, that you will not neglect and desert yourselves, and thus you will not neglect and desert your patients. This is because that is, and this is not because that is not, right? So my dear ones, let us take a few more minutes to come back and breathe. Okay? I'll walk you through a deep relaxation for a few minutes, and then after that we can be open for a short session of questions and answers. Those of you who need to leave, you can also leave, it's okay. But let us enjoy a sound of the bell and come back to our body and scan through our body. Breathing in, I get to know my in-breath as it is. Breathing out, I get to know my out-breath as it is. Learning to be a soulmate to my breath. I breathe and smile. Breathing in, I go back to the island within myself. There are beautiful trees within the island. There are clear streams of water. There are birds, sunshine and fresh air. Breathing out, I feel safe. I enjoy going back to my island. Enjoy coming back to the island within ourselves. Our breathing is always there for us. Our body is always there for us. Being a soulmate to us. However neglectful we may be or abusive we may be to ourselves, our body and mind, our body-mind always try to heal itself. so that we can get up the next day, so that we can pursue our ambitions. Now, let us learn to come back and be a soulmate to our body, to our mind, to every part of our body. Relax all the tension. Send gratitude and love to each part of the body. Recognize when our body that tends to carry the stress, tension, or pain, and learn to say thank you to it. Thanks for carrying the burden of my pain. Thanks for letting me know that there's something going wrong. Thanks for always communicating with me. May I take better care of you. I'm sorry that I've not been there for you, that I've taken you for granted. Learn to say thank you and learn to say sorry to ourselves. That is very, very healing. That is to learn to do beginning anew with ourselves, to be a soulmate to ourselves. How can anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How can anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than whole? How can anyone ever fail to notice that your life is a miracle, that you're deeply connected to all lives? How can anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than beautiful? How can anyone ever tell you that you're anything less than whole? How can anyone ever fail to notice that your life is a miracle, that you're deeply connected to all lives? Say quietly to yourself, thank you for being there for me. I'm here. I'm here for myself. I love you so. I love you so. I love you so. So my dear, now it's 3:30. If you have some questions, you can ask, And I'm happy to address it. If you need to use the restroom, you can also just quietly, you can do walking meditation to the restroom, and then you can come back if you still can, okay? But I'm open to some questions. And please make sure you ask questions from the heart, okay? How to practice, how to take care of certain situation. Are you all enlightened? Yes, dear.
How do you find peace with your own losses?
What's that?
How do you find peace when you know that loss is imminent?
When you know loss is imminent. It's our attitude, because we know that nothing will exist forever, right? Nothing. Every moment we are growing old. Every moment things are changing in us. Skin cells are sloughing off. Nothing is ever the same. We are of the nature to be sick, to grow old, to die. Even the person we love so much today, tomorrow we may not want to look at, right? Did you have a high school sweetheart you thought that you could never live without? Yes, now we laugh, right? So learning about impermanence and touching impermanence in our daily life is very important, so that we treasure what we have. The imminent not loss, but it means the person or the situation is still there for us. Don't think of the loss and forget that the person is still around, right? The quality that we have with ourselves, with each other, even with a patient. You may just meet the person one time, but you may have a very positive effect or a negative effect on the person for a long time. So it's what we have to be able to be truly there for the person. Are you talking about loss means death? We have a practice that helps a lot, is that we water the flowers in the person. When you know the person is very sick or is dying, you can help that person to recall the beautiful memories that you have with each other, or the beautiful memories about the person's life. You can remind the person or ask the person to tell you. So in that way, we water the positive thinking, helps the person to remember the meaningful aspects of his or her life. It's very important. As I was singing to you earlier, when I was an intern, I went to visit a patient who just had a heart surgery. She was already in her late 80s, but I guess she was so strong that they decided to do, I think it was a bypass on her. And I sang to her because there was nothing else I could do. And she said, "Oh, it's so beautiful. I'll remember this for the rest of my life." It was very sweet, you know. But I kind of chuckle inside, because I knew the rest of her life was not very long. She was quite old already. But still, it was very meaningful for her. And guess what? 20-something years later, I still remember that moment. So the moment is eternal, because we are there. We are not afraid. Some of us, we cannot face death in our daily life. We forget about our nature of growing old, of growing sick, of dying. We run away from that. We avoid it. And so we're not able to face it in our loved ones. And we're not able to help our loved ones or our patients to walk through it. But if we learn to recognize the changes that are taking place in our daily life, to embrace it, to learn to love ourselves, we will not be afraid of the loss, because it's like, what I could have done better, you know? I am doing the best to take care of myself and of you. So because you are of a nature of impermanence, when you leave, I will take good care of you in myself. I will carry you on in my own life. And in the beginning, I shared with you about a traumatic event that took place in my life that caused me to leave medicine. It was because my partner, he died suddenly. He went swimming and he was drowned at the ocean in Half Moon Bay in San Francisco. And that really woke me up because he lived a beautiful life. He was an audio engineer for Dolby's and very successful, but he had a spiritual life. He would take off, half of Friday. He would come home early so that he could just, spend time to play music, to go hiking, to go camping. So when he died suddenly, I didn't feel sad for him, but I felt if I were to die in the midst of the day, I would really, regret not having lived my life. If there were hell or heaven, I probably would just go straight to hell. Because in my daily life, I would ruminate over my suffering, my sadness, my past, right? I wasn't really living my life fully. So the regrets, the fear that we have, is mainly because we're not able to live our life deeply. But when we do, we will not be afraid of death, and we will not be afraid to face somebody's death, and we'll be able to walk them through gracefully, through that gate, transition gracefully. Okay. So again, it comes back to our own capacity to hold what's going on inside of us. Thank you, my dear. Do you have another question? Yes, yes.
So you mentioned the fight or flight before.
Yes.
And I understand that that's beneficial for survival.
Yes.
Right? And living on a constant state of low grade of fight or flight,
yes,
it's detrimental for your health.
Yes.
So just so either we fight or we flight when there is a dangerous situation.
Right.
So why do we freeze sometimes? Because I don't see any benefit. It just doesn't make sense to me that not only people, but sometimes you see it in animals.
Right.
That when there is a problem, like some they fight or flight, some they freeze. So
wonderful. Okay, so when we have fight or flight or freeze, it really depends on the situation, but also on the personality of the person. I've seen a mouse just get knocked out, after, and the mice, when the mouse is like that, actually the cat pushes around and the cat loses the interest. The cat walks away, the mouse wakes up and runs away. So it's actually an adaptive mechanism. It depends on the situation and also on the personality of the person. We have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, right? I think it's better if we call it PTSS, post-traumatic stress syndromes, because when it's like a whole group of all the different symptoms, signs and symptoms, right? When we put it a disorder, it sounds like only certain people get that. But I think all of us have PTSD. It's a spectrum, how traumatized or how adaptive we are, and also not just we have fight, flight, or freeze in situations of danger, but actually many of us get stuck in that state. So when you work with patients, you may see that they're actually kind of stuck in the fight mode all the time. They just, they are, reactive, they are nervous, right? They have avoidance, they are hypervigilant, or some of us, we may be stuck in a flight mode as well. So either we fight back or we run away. Even in our daily life, we may seem very functional, our patients seem functional, but deep down inside, if we look, we see that we do have a certain pattern or even freeze response. We just kind of have walls around us. We walk, we talk, we cook, we interact, but something in us has already shut off. I gave a talk, and a woman talking about, scanning the body, being aware of the body. And afterwards, a woman came up to me and she said, I had breast cancer 7 years ago, and I had bilateral mastectomy. And since then, I have not looked at myself from the neck down for 7 years. When she looked in the mirror, she only looked up to here. Never looked at herself from this down. Because she couldn't accept it. Couldn't accept her body. So in that way, it's kind of something is frozen in her too. It's both flight and freeze response. Frozen, shut off, dissociated. So we need to see it not as some point in time, not as for a certain group, a subset of the population, but it's actually, we can see that it's just a spectrum in us, how the coping mechanism that we each have, whether it's fight or it's flight or it's freeze, we tend to go towards a particular mode, but it's in us. And when we learn to be aware of that, we actually learn to release the tension. A fight person will probably hold a lot of tension in the muscles, in the chest, in the breathing pattern, in the heart rate. So like that, then we learn to just breathe through it, relax, relax. Relaxation is very important to healing. It doesn't matter how much medication the person takes to relax. If the person cannot scan the body, cannot be at peace and walk through the body lovingly, loving speech and deep listening, if the person cannot relax, the person is difficult to heal. Physical trauma or pain, or emotional trauma or pain. So mindful breathing, body scanning, loving speech, deep listening, release of the tension, all of these practices help us to kind of undo those unhealthy coping mechanisms. Thank you for asking that question. Does it explain a little bit? Does it make sense to you? Yeah. Okay, thank you, dear. You have another question? Yes.
So in that respect, are you saying that you view relaxation and meditation as two separate entities, or that meditation is a vehicle to relax?
Oh, wonderful. Okay. They are not two. Not two. They inter-are. They relate to each other. In meditation, there's relaxation. Like we breathe, you think meditation means, you think of big thoughts, right? Enlightening thoughts. It's not. Most of the time at the monastery, when I go to sitting meditation in the morning and in the evening, I just sit stably. I do walking meditation to the meditation hall. As I sit down on the cushion, I'm aware that I'm sitting down. As soon as I sit down, I just continue to follow my breath and relax my body. You see? Breathe and relax and smile. Relaxation is right there. It's in the meditation. It's a part of meditation. And when your body is relaxed, your mind is relaxed, it's like spacious. You can see and hear more clearly your mind. And you can feel more in the body, and you can release that tension, that pain. Like when you ask a patient to move and it's painful, you can say, okay, visualize, you move, and now take in a deep breath and just do it slowly. And then as you breathe out, just stretch a little more, stretch a little more, stretch a little more. You see? Like ease into that stretch. So that's meditation. That's relaxation, that they are in each other. Yeah. And relaxation, again, deep relaxation is very important, essential in healing. So if we are like this, imagine how long can we hold a fist? And it's very tiring and painful, right? You relax it. you feel different. It's a different kind of energy right there. If you can just help your patients to relax, instead of like, do more, yeah? Yeah, oh, okay, that's good. Okay, take a moment to breathe and smile and acknowledge what have been done. Okay, now we go to the next step. You remain calm, peaceful, relaxing. It helps the patients more than, we push them and then they feel nervous and they feel like they're failing our expectation. And when they're tense, actually they do less. They are less capable of accomplishing what their body is capable of. See? Okay. Anything else there? Yes.
Do you have any suggestions? I know a lot of us have teenage children, and there's a lot of stress.
Yes.
Any ideas on how to kind of incorporate this into maybe your relationship with your kids?
Great.
Like a way of being receptive, or how do you bring it about, or do you play some quiet music?
Good. Okay, like I was sharing about my niece. She's 7 years old, but she weighs 72 pounds. She's a pretty big girl. And just 2 days ago when she was at the monastery ground, I was in my shoulder rope in here. Imagine, she was the lion whisperer, and I was the lion. So I was on all four, on this basketball, volleyball court, on four, and my niece was lying on my back, and I was walking with her on my back. Just play with our children, spend time with them. Let's ask questions so that we get to know each other more. And so, like I was saying earlier about when we work, we are there wholeheartedly, and we give our support and love to each other, our colleagues. I cannot emphasize it enough that we are a supportive, nurturing of each other. I was very moved that earlier on our way here, Dr. Nguyen saw a young woman, and he said, come if you can, and that's the place, and we'll have a program together. It's like you're open and receptive, and you are supportive of each other, instead of just doing your job, closing up, like closing off and not seeing anybody else. Human to human interaction is very important. That helps our job to be meaningful. And to be professional and distant, actually, slowly we kind of lose that mind of love that we have in the beginning when we wanted to go to the medical field, But when we go home, as we drive, let it all go. As you walk out of the car, you park the car, let your work go. As you open the door, take a moment to breathe, open the door, and be that person in the present moment for your child. Like we learn to grow up with our children instead of we grow old and they grow apart. And that, to be able to do that, we really have to have like a very fresh, present mind. I can be serious, I can be proper, but I can also play around and then like run after my niece, and she's crawling in the front, me crawling on the back, kissing her butt, and I said, you're the only one that I kiss butt. So, then you actually, when you are able to play and talk heart to heart with your children, you get to relive your life in a more beautiful way. I didn't have a good childhood. I lost both of my parents by the time I was 12, and I grew up with a lot of hardship, a lot of abuse in my life. But I learned to take good care of myself, and now I'm there for my niece, my one and only niece. And it's like I see her as my continuation. I don't have to have a biological child, but that's my niece. But I see how I teach her, I influence her, you see. So grow up with your children, make time for them. And when our mind is quiet and calm and peaceful, we can really be fresh and spontaneous. We can be fun, and whatever they tell us, we can accept. Sometimes we're in the parent mode, don't do this, do that, what are you up to? But when you're like, relax and you trust, they trust you. They can share a lot with you. And I work with young people. I see very clearly, however young they are, they have a lot of stress and tension, and they suffer traumas that many times parents aren't even aware of. It's very sad. But when we are so preoccupied, we're not there for our children. So we take care of patients, but our own children are wounded, are traumatized. So a present mind, a now mind, helps us, and they feel loved. They feel cared for. They don't have to take refuge in iPods, iPads, and iPhones, but they can enjoy our presence. And, you know, we grow up together. Thank you. And bring them to our monastery. We just had a teens. Yeah.
Meditation component.
Yeah, we have a teens retreat. We had a teens retreat 2 weeks ago. 157 of them were at the monastery for 6 days without parents, and they learned to do walking meditation. We did like that, but longer, a lot more fun, a lot more space. They could run and everything. And then we also did sitting meditation every morning for just 20 minutes, you know. We had guided meditation, and then we had deep relaxation every afternoon. We had eating meditation. So we learned to eat in silence, to chew the food, put down the utensil, chew it until it becomes liquid, and then take another spoonful. So young people, when they learn to practice, it becomes a part of their being. It helps them to have, you know, good tools, positive coping mechanism, instead of resorting to other things that they have to pay for the rest of their lives. You know, I knew a man, he's a scientist, a very actually accomplished scientist, but when his parents cheated on each other and then got a divorce and his mother got cancer, he learned to cope with the stress and pain by viewing pornography. He saw some adults doing that, so he did that. But then it got repeated, it became a habit. And when he got married, he still resorted to pornography. They got a divorce, now he's facing a second divorce because it's just disruptive, devastating to himself and to the relationship, you know. So as children, whatever we learn to cope, however we learn to cope with something, we are grown, we are professionals, and yet we cope. We have the exact same coping mechanism as when we were 5 or 10. Just have a bigger, more grown body. So we need to ask ourselves, what is my coping mechanism? What is my operating mode? Is it healthy? Is it helpful? Can I learn a different way to take care of it? And do I like what I am in this moment? Do I like it? And be brave to say, no, I don't like it. And so we have practices that help us to learn to be our soulmates. And trust me, it doesn't matter what you do for your career. If you can be a soulmate to yourself, your body and mind, be there for yourself moment to moment, you will like what you are. You will like who you are. It's very pleasant. It's a great blessing to be who we are, deep within. Okay, one last question. Yes. Okay, we have 2 questions. That's okay.
You mentioned about burnout and how healthcare workers are
yes.
a little more prone and susceptible to that.
Uh-huh.
And then could you maybe talk further about managing or being more aware of burnout?
Okay, good. It's like a tumor, you know, when it's diagnosed on a CT or MRI, it has to be like 2 millimeters to be seen. But the tumor didn't start at 2 millimeters. It started at a single cell mutation, right? So any kind of problems that we have, depression, anger, anxiety, burnout, it has already started a long time ago. So we see it as like a wave building up until the moment when we see, usually it's not here actually, and it's over. Like earlier I talked, like I was saying that, you are angry? You said, no, I'm not angry. And even at the peak of the problem, we don't see it. Until some people, they say, wow, after I practiced meditation for 2 years, I realized I was depressed. Many times, we are not aware of the problems that we have, and so then we cannot get help. And then we go through denial, right? And I learned this one, I like it a lot. Denial is, don't even know I'm lying. Don't even know I'm lying to myself, of course, you know, and then to others. No K, but it's an N, right? Don't even know I'm lying. So I think burned out, again, if you look at it as like a wave building up, if you experience burned out, it's probably all the way up here or, you know, somewhere down here. And at that moment, definitely, you know, speak about it. Share about it with your co-workers, with some, you know, some people who are empathetic. Find a way if you can reduce the hours, you know, if you can get a cut in your pay, but you have a little more time for yourself. Your life is priceless. Your peace, your health, that's priceless. You know, simplify our life helps a lot. We have too many activities that if you look deeply, you know that they're not that meaningful. Simplify your activities, simplify the things, the material things that you have. Because, you know, we can have so many things already, and yet when we're stressed, we'll get in the car and go buy more things, right? And if you want to buy those things, you have to work more. Make more money to buy them. And so in that way, it's a vicious cycle. It puts too much stress and burden in us to produce, to make money, and then, you know, so in that way, know that we're enough is a very good practice, so that we can live with more simplicity, you know, with material things, with activities, and slowly we also learn to release more thoughts, judgments. When we do physical work, it doesn't take as much energy as when we do so much mental work. Like you harbor negative thoughts about yourself or your loved ones or somebody, that takes a lot of energy. You're probably exhausted or burned out because of negative thinking, you know, from yourself or from others, and you absorb. So mindfulness kind of helps you to protect yourself and from others. You're aware of a negative thoughts or negative speech or actions from yourself. You breathe and you say, sorry, I thought that thought. Sorry, I just said that to myself, like I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, you know, I'm sorry, I think that, I'm sorry. And, or you know, some people get upset, they slap themselves, or they even cut themselves, you know, like, I'm sorry, I hurt you. It's very healing, you cannot even imagine. If you can just learn to say thank you and sorry to yourself, like with sincerity, deeply, you experience healing. So moment to moment, we can learn to also come back and to acknowledge. Breathing in, I'm aware that I'm so tired. I'm so burned out. Breathing out, I'm sorry. I've led myself to this state. I'm sorry. Just to acknowledge it helps you soothe you from the inside. Then from that space, you find a way out. You know what you need to do, actually. It's just because usually we are denying, don't even know I'm lying, that we let the problem get so far, and then we feel overwhelmed, and then we don't know what to do. And again, being able to support each other, to recognize the problem and to relieve for each other. You know, you all are leaders, you all are, you know, about to become leaders. It's a very good virtue quality to learn to be equanimous, to be magnanimous, to help each other. You know, it can go a long way. Yeah, please take very good care of each other. Okay, wherever your capacity is, like care for each other. It heals ourselves, it heals each other, and thus our patients benefit from it. Okay. Okay, one question, and then we'll stop.
I think it should be a quick question.
Yes.
In terms of time, what do you think is the minimum effective dosage, like per day, for how many minutes per day for a beginner?
For
meditation.
all day. All day. One step at a time. One breath at a time. If you're aware of one breath, that's meditation. If you're aware you're taking a step, that's meditation. If you have lunch, you go out and sit, by the lake, or just sit in a quiet place and enjoy your meal, that's meditation. So you can just learn to do one thing at a time, like, okay, I'm going to do walking meditation from my car to the office. You just make a contract like that. You just do your best to enjoy your breathing, your steps, That's meditation. And then from there, you extend the distance. Like, okay, from the office to the restroom, to the coffee machine, etc. You just let it spread out in your daily life. We have the capacity for self-awareness, right? The front brain, the frontal lobe, have self-awareness. Animals, they are aware of the objects outside. Like the cat is aware of the mouse. But the cat may not be aware of its own, bodily movements, of its own anticipation, excitement. But as human beings, we have that capacity for self-awareness, but we don't usually use it. So we do things just automatically, So as long as you have self-awareness, that's meditation. That's mindfulness, okay? And that's why I said it's all day, because we're homo, not just homo sapiens, we're homo conscious, okay? Okay, thank you so much, my dear. I'm aware. I'm aware that 2 hours is a lot from your time, but you are here, so hopefully you will carry something with you, okay? So those of you who can, let us enjoy 3 sounds of the bell, and then you're welcome to leave. It's going to become a beautiful path, right? Breathe and smile. Everything is going to be okay. All is well. Thank you. Now standing up, I'm aware that I'm standing up. Okay. Thank you, dear ones. And as you walk out of this door, please do your best to be aware of your steps. Okay. You can always come back to your breath and your steps, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Before you leave, we want to say a special thank you to Sister Đẳng and her colleague, and they came all the way from Escondido today, these wonderful women, to share their wisdom with us. And so we are ever gracious to you for sharing, making us aware of interbeing, and we hope to become our soulmates. So
yes.
Yay! Become our patient soulmates too. So we thank
yes.
you, and we are very gracious to you for coming to share with us
today. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Bless you. Bless you. And we have some pamphlets, we have some magazines, some cards. Please feel welcome to pick them up for yourself, okay? Thank you.
And let's get a quick picture if we can. Do you mind if we...
Those of us who can,
everyone?
yes.
You guys stay where you are, just push in, and then we'll take a picture this way.